Hey everybody, Aaron Blaise here. Holy cow, I can't believe it. We're back. It's been a long time. And I've been fighting a cold, so I'm going to be coughing a lot today. And I'm sorry. But it's been months and months since I've seen you guys. I just did a Facebook Live a couple of days ago, so I'm sure I've got maybe some of you that were there, maybe here. And so this might be a little bit of a repeat for you, but we've had a great summer. I've really missed doing the live streams with you guys, and it's great to be back. We had Nick Birch and myself, my business partner, and I. We had a really big summer of kind of traveling around the world and teaching, giving lectures. It's been great. We hit 7 different countries this year. We were in Japan, China. We were in Chile, Colombia, Mexico, Brazil. It's been great. And so, but that's done. It's behind us. I'm glad to be back at my desk and working again. And so it's me today, and I've got my trusty son, sidekick, whatever you want to call him, Dustin Blaise. Say hi, Dustin.
Hey, everybody.
Say hi, Dustin.
Say hello.
So much energy. Anyway, I'm just gonna, coming into it new today, I didn't know what I was gonna do. So I just thought, you know what, let's kick off the dust, and I wanted to go ahead and answer questions from you guys, but I thought it might be also fun to, I'm just going to do live drawing, but the subject matter I'm going to leave up to you guys. And so I want you guys to start typing in what you want to see, and I'll pick my favorite, and I'll just start drawing, and then we'll do some, let's do some questions and answers like we've done in the past. Dustin will be taking questions, and I've got Nick Birch in Sarasota as well. And he's going to be online if you guys need links to anything or anything like that, and he'll be posting those. So, what do you got, Dustin? Do you have anything?
Nothing yet.
Cool. That's awesome. Thanks.
I guess you just draw a blank page.
I'm drawing a blank page right now.
Somebody put in self-portrait.
I don't want to draw me. Oh, that's the other thing too. Look, I cut all my hair off. It's all gone. I do that about every 3 or 4 years. I cut all my hair off and I donate it. And I've been doing that for 22 years. And so I'm pretty proud. This year, this last haircut made 8 feet that I've donated over the last 22 years. So you can call me Rapunzel. So it feels pretty good. I donate everything to Locks of Love. As many of you probably know, I lost my wife, Karen, 10 years ago to cancer, breast cancer, and she lost her hair. And so it's always been a big thing for us to be able to do that and to give back. And so Locks of Love really handles a lot of folks and children that lose their hair to burns and cancer and that sort of thing. And it gives them a chance to wear some wigs and feel better about themselves. So that's what I did there. So that feels good. And actually, to be honest with you, the short hair feels great. So I think I'm gonna keep it short for a little while and then start growing it, so whatever.
So we have some requests.
Okay, good. What do we got?
We got marine mammals,
marine
self-portrait,
mammals.
which we already said, a cook, your son.
My son. That's Sasquatch.
Elephant giraffe hybrid.
Elephant giraffe hybrid.
Draw some raccoons, please. Snow leopard.
Oh, a snow leopard.
Really happy dolphin. Draw a cat.
I like the snow leopard idea.
A Disney princess wants to see a human. Jack Russell.
A Jack Russell dog?
I believe so.
Oh, wow.
Draw a fish.
A
Fantasy
fish.
creatures. An owl. And other raccoons.
Wow. Do we have any repeats in there?
Draw. I think it was just the raccoon so far. That's the one repeat, but actually no, it was the same person, just said twice.
You can't do it twice.
Draw a unicorn on a rainbow.
A unicorn on a rainbow.
Animalize superheroes.
Yeah, wow.
Like Mighty Mouse. A lynx mother taking care of her babies.
Holy cow, that's a big one. The snow leopard. I like the snow leopard idea. I'm going to jump in and do a snow leopard for right now. One thing I have to do, I've got to go into my reference. Let's jump into, I know I've got snow leopard reference. where do I have that? I got to go into here. Let's see here. Go ahead and ask any questions. If you guys have questions too, go ahead and shoot. Because I know I've got some Snow Leopard Cali trip right here. We were just recently down in over in San Diego and went to the San Diego Zoo, and here we go, footage for Proco, and we got together with Stan Prokopenko, and we went to the zoo, and we have everything nicely organized here, and I think we have a Snow Leopard. Where is it? Am I looking at it and missing it? I know we've got it. I know we've got a Snow Leopard in here. Snow Leopard and Panther. There we go. So I'm just gonna. I want to find, because one of the things you'll see, we've got some really cool footage in here. What is this? That's not what I want. There we go. Mm-hmm. So I've got some video that I like, and what I might do is I might just get like a little still, because one of the snow leopards are extremely specialized in the way that they look. Obviously, you can see that they've got a lot of fur. They've got a forehead on them, a little bit more of a forehead than other cats do, which I find really interesting. Their long tail is very distinctive, but their markings, I don't have their markings memorized, even though I've done the big cat. I did a big cat course. If you remember, I didn't include snow leopards in the big cat course because I'm not that familiar with them. I'm not going to go. I'm going to go with another video. What do you got? Do you have anything, Dustin?
Yeah. Awesome Panda is asking, do you have any tips for drawing realistic animals?
Yeah. Draw from life as often as you can. Oh shoot! All of these are they're all up on the cloud. So it's going to give me a little bit so I can pull these up. But let me turn these down as well. The biggest thing, it's like this. I mean, you can see we went to the zoo here, and not everybody's going to have access to the zoo. You just don't. But if you want to draw realistic animals, I think one of the biggest things you need to do is you've got to get access to them. Whether it's watching documentaries. This is a good pose. Oh, there we go. There's something nice there. I'm going to do, watch what I do. I'm going to go Shift, Command Shift, number 4, and I can go boom, do a little frame grab of that. I don't need much. I just want a little bit of inspiration. Then I want to get a little bit of a close-up. But going back, one of the best things you can do is don't rely on Google. Google is a great resource. I'm going to look at that head too. Google's a great resource, but it should be your last resort. One of the things I do to brush up on my animal anatomy, if I can't get to that animal, let's say a polar bear, because we're doing Snow Bear, which is an animated short that we're going to be doing over the next year. And one of the things that I do is I record every documentary that I can find on Netflix, whatever it might be, and I'll go through and I'll draw off the TV screen. I'll draw while they're moving, but I'll also freeze frame and draw. And the reason I recommend doing that rather than pulling Google Images is because when you're just looking at still photos, it's just a flat image that you can't really get a sense of the real dimension of that character. But when they're moving around, you're getting a better sense of their volumes. And so if you can't see the real thing, then the next best thing is to draw from video. I highly recommend it. And like I said, with just a little bit of research, just a little bit of searching, even if you're on YouTube looking for that animal, or if you don't have Netflix, go to YouTube, go to whatever you can find that will give you video. We live in the age of information, so you should be able to find it somewhere. And yeah, so there's that. Yeah, Dustin.
Snow Mew is asking, trying to get better at drawing figures, doing lots of figure drawings, but feel like I'm not improving.
Are you? Okay, go ahead.
What should I focus on when figure drawing / studying?
Are you? Well, I wonder if you're actually using live models. So, are you drawing from live models? If you are, that's great. Just continue to do what you're doing. If you're not, then that's one thing I really recommend is trying to draw from live models. And, you know, maybe you can't get a proper model to come in, but maybe you can get family members, you can get friends to pose for you. You know, the best way to get better at figure drawing is to draw, once again, from life human figures. And so that's the biggest thing that I recommend right there. You know, a lot of times getting better at drawing anything, my answer is always going to be try to find that animal from life and draw it. I think this is just me sketching, and it is, so we don't want that. This is sketching at the zoo. I'm trying to find the actual live animal because I just need a couple little snippets. Oh, it's downloading. Yeah, Dustin.
Kevin Kong is asking, can you give us tips on how to draw animated characters on model? Nothing comes up the same way twice when I draw.
Well, that really comes down to practice. Drawing, you know, when you need to draw an animated character on model, you know, one of the things we did when we were at Disney, let me go ahead and open these up. One of the things we did when we were at Disney was we set aside time just to practice, especially if we weren't the supervisor of that character. If we weren't the designer of that character and we had to learn how to draw it, they would give us 6 weeks, 2 months to learn how to draw the characters before we had to start animating them. So it really comes down to just see. I'm just starting with just a little image right here, and right here. I need to know the markings on that head, like that. And I like this pose. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked, but I'll come back to the question. I like this pose right here. There's something nice and fluid about that, so I'm going to use that as inspiration. It's just going to be inspiration, but we're gonna go with that. But the other thing too is with animated characters, one of the best things, the best ways to approach animated characters is the way that we design them, and that is starting with simple shapes. You know, when I start drawing, if I start drawing Nala, for instance. You know, Nala was designed to be this ball, and I could find that line, the eye line, and then from there, I could create her. I could add her muzzle, her nose. I would know where her eye line was, coming here. So it's really thinking about those simple shapes. And I know, okay, if the eye line is here and the head's way up here, then I know, and there's those cheeks coming way out here, their ears. I know where to attach everything. So there's Nala. Now, granted, I designed Nala and I drew her 1,000 times, but that's part of the answer for you, and that is you'd have to draw them a lot. And this is very, very rough, but it gives you a sense of, you know, even here it is 25 years later since I drew her for the movie, but I can still remember how to draw her because I kept her very simple in my approach. And there's a little cheek over there. Okay? So it's really thinking about simple shapes and building the character, building it from the inside out. And that will help you keep your character consistent. Yeah.
Juan Esteban Para Lozada is asking, do you recommend any affordable animation school?
That's a tough one. Do I recommend any affordable animation school? First of all, I don't know what's affordable. So I'm not sure. I'm going to actually turn this. I'm going to rotate this. You know, there's a lot of animation training that you can find online. There's a lot of schools that I think are great that I don't know if they're necessarily affordable. I think, you know, CalArts is great. Ringling is great. Savannah is great. So, I mean, there's a lot of different schools out there. I'm not sure where you're from, um, but there's a lot of stuff online. A lot of great stuff online. And if cost is an issue for you, then yeah, you might want to think about what you can find online. And there's a lot of stuff just depending on what you're looking for that um, you can just self teach. You can teach yourself. So one of the things about sorry, I'm going to move on here. One of the things about snow leopards is that they have this. They're low to the ground because they live almost in a vertical world. They live in the Himalayas. They've got lots of rocks that they have to deal with, so they're very low to the ground. It gives them a low center of gravity, so they don't fall off the rocks. So I'm going to keep these legs short. I'm going to kind of caricature it a little bit. Now the image that I was looking at up here, that's my inspiration. I think I want to do something in profile, like it's looking up. I want to get a little bit better kind of silhouette on that cat. But I really like the kind of the twist to the body. And I'm going to stylize it, like I said. And I like the curviness of that. It gives it a nice design sense, and that the way that tail really flares. These tails get really big. And the reason they have such a long tail is for that balance. Once again, they've evolved this big tail for balance in the mountains. Yeah, Dustin.
Nick just mentioned the animation workshop in Denmark is a good one.
Oh, yes, that's right, in Viborg. It's great. The animation workshop in Viborg, Denmark is fantastic. So that's another one. That's another good resource. Gobelin in France is good. There's a lot of good ones. Also, real quick, I wanted to mention, we just crossed over 200,000 subscribers here on YouTube just recently, so I want to thank you guys for that. I really appreciate it. It's always been our hope and our wish, when we do this stuff, when I left Disney, it was always my goal to want to give back. I had a wonderful instructor, mentor with Glenn Keane. He was my mentor, and he was an extremely giving person. And so he really inspired me when I left to want to do something to where I can give back. And so that's what Nick and I and Dustin and Steve, that's what we've been wanting to do. That's our mission statement. And a big part of that is this YouTube channel. So thanks, you guys, because we just want to keep doing it. Yo.
Nova Art 18 asks, did you ever run into not being able to work on personal art and characters outside of the company you worked for?
No.
Did they ever say they own the ideas you made outside of work? This happened to me.
Yeah, no, contractually, legally at the time, Disney did own everything, but we had an agreement, and they knew that to keep us happy, it was really about letting us be who we could be outside of work as well. And as long as it wasn't a directly competing company, like I couldn't go out and do animation for DreamWorks, but there was a lot of painting and whatnot that I did outside the company as well. And so, now I get that nose just right. And so, they knew that that's what made us happy. And so, they were always really great about it. They never pushed it. I'm sorry that you had to go through that you had a company that pushed that, because to me, it doesn't serve the purposes of keeping a healthy creative studio, as far as I'm concerned. But that's my opinion, and I'm sure you share that same opinion. Looking at it now, and now that I see it in profile, this is how I do my exploration. Seeing it in profile, and I want to get these shoulder blades up a little higher. I'm not feeling the look that I was thinking it would feel like, so I'm going to erase that.
Another question from Snow Mew.
Yeah.
For learning proportions, is that something that comes with lots of practice, or is that something that you should study independently alongside everything else I'm studying?
Learning proportions comes with everything else. If you're learning how to draw, you're learning proportions. So, it's all learning how to see, really. That's what it is. And so, if just proper drawing is proper proportions. So it's not something that's separate. So I'm actually attempting now to do the angle that I got the screen grab in. And I'm not sure I'm liking this as much either. So a lot of times you'll see that I go through, if you were to see me do this, I'm just kind of quickly sketching it in because I'm not sure I'm going to keep it.
And Leontine Van Vliet. I'm sorry if I butchered your name. But
Sounds like you did.
Do you get people asking to draw their pets for free sometimes? And if so, how do you deal with that? As full-time artist, I still get that all the time, and it drives me nuts.
Well, you got to learn how to say no. This is your job. You're a full-time artist. If someone's a plumber, you don't ask them to do your plumbing for free. So people have to understand that. Now, a lot of people get upset about it, and but that's their issue. It's not yours. So you know what? Just you got to learn how to say no. I'm good at it. Nick will tell you I'm really good at it. But it's just something that's taken years to do. I've got this circular look. Circular feel in here. I'm going to move this over.
From Anselmo the Fish, what's the most important thing to learn for a young artist?
I think it's discipline. I think the most important thing to learn is that you have to get on the drawing board as often as you can. Otherwise, there we go. Otherwise, you won't get better. If your pencil is on paper or your stylus is on the screen, then you're going to get better. If you're going to make mistakes, you're going to learn from those mistakes, and you're going to get better. That's the best. That's the best advice I can give you. The best advice I can give you is to just be consistent and just work on it as often as you can. Just be at that board. Draw because you love to draw. There we go. I'm going to make that nice and thick. I'm going to give that head a little bit of a break because I'm not quite feeling it, and I want to figure out.
Kizan Yukai is asking, do you see your friends and family as characters or animals? Like, I can see my best friend as a grumpy old stubborn bulldog.
I see my son as a Sasquatch. Oh, sorry, Dustin. That was really hurtful.
You could have said lion. You always call my hair my lion's mane.
It is a lion's mane. It's funny. I don't really think of it in that sense, but now that you mention it, I have. This is coming. I'll go with this angle. This is feeling pretty good. Back to Nala again. When I was designing Nala, my daughter, who was at the time, I think she was 3-ish years old, 3 or 4, and her eyes were. She had these beautiful little big, not little. They were big, kind of doughy eyes, and they were kind of my inspiration for Nala's eyes. So when you look at Nala, those are my daughter's eyes, and she'll still tell it. She's 28 years old now. She still tells everybody that. So I like that. There we go. Yeah, for not knowing that we were going to sit down and do a snow leopard, I'm going to push this a little bit. I think we're going to come up with something that's kind of fun here.
Gonna push it to the limit.
Push it to the limit.
Nikhil Thakar. What is better? What is better, having a job at studio or working as a freelancer?
Well, that just depends on what you want. It really depends on what you want. I enjoyed working at the studios. I learned a lot at the studios. And now I'm independent. I'm glad that I went through the studios first and learned everything that I did there. So for me, my freelance world now would not be as rich as it is had I not gone through the studio atmosphere. I think young artists benefit more going into the studio world, my personal belief. But that's just my personal belief. That's what was best for me, and it might not be the best answer for everybody. So yeah, so there's that. I'm going to shrink that head up just a little bit.
Alexandra Casadiego is asking, are you planning cover value and grayscale in your tip series?
And my tip series, my Aaron's Art Tips?
I believe so.
I can do all that. I wasn't, the Aaron's Art Tips, I kind of wing those. I don't really have a big plan. Sometimes I plan them out, but it's really, a lot of times I'll just kind of sit down that day and go, okay, what am I going to talk about today? A lot of times I don't plan too far ahead, which I know I should. I just kind of wing it. So here, I've kind of roughed in, not a bad little pose. Right there. I'm going to go ahead and shrink it up.
Artsy Bookworm is asking, what do you focus on first when drawing something with a lot of details? It can get overwhelming even if I try to start out with basic shapes.
But that's what you have to do. You got to start with the basic shapes. Don't be overwhelmed by detail. That's the biggest mistake. And I always work. You can see what I'm doing now. I always work from the broad, meaning the loose and finding shape, like I'm doing right now. Right now, I'm just kind of drawing in rocks and that sort of thing. And then I work towards the refined, and that's how I've always done it. Oops, there we go. So that's what you need to do. You have to start from the broad shapes, loose drawing. You can see here I'm looking really at just shape right now. Looking at a little bit of anatomy. There's the tricep muscles. I'm thinking about just the basic shapes, what's happening underneath the skin on this cat, and then I'm going to go back in and we're going to refine the drawing. And that's, this eventually I'll have some detail to it. I'll probably go in and change up these rocks. I'm a big believer in drawing from a place of knowledge, and so I might need a little bit of reference for this, a little Himalayan rock reference. But I'm going to turn that off right now. I'm going to knock this back, and we're going to go ahead and refine this drawing. Go ahead.
Tone Caldas is asking, throughout your career, what did you do that you maybe wouldn't do if you were starting it over?
You know what? I don't have any regrets. I would have bought into Google. I would have invested into Google. No, I don't. I don't have any. I don't have any regrets as far as any of that goes. I was really lucky in the time that I came in. I worked really hard. We came in during a time when animation was making a resurgence, and it was kind of a new renaissance, and so everything was just hopping. And if you were willing to work hard, which I was, we got paid, I'm not talking about monetarily paid. We got paid monetarily, yes, but we gained so much knowledge just through doing what we were doing. Every movie was a new adventure. I don't regret any of the films I worked on. Even after I left Disney, when I went to Digital Domain, and that company went bankrupt, I don't regret going there. I mean, we had a wonderful time. We learned a lot, and I'm of a philosophy that you make your decision, you move forward, and there's no regrets, and you just deal with it, and that's how you move forward. And if it was a bad decision, then you learn from it, and then you just keep going. And that's kind of how my whole life has been. Yeah.
Hannah S. is asking, what is the best advice someone has given you?
The best advice is, is this idea of my father, my stepfather, who raised me. I'm luckily I was close with both my stepfather and my father. I was one of these lucky guys that had two parents that both were really great to me. And my stepfather, remember him telling me, Aaron, chase the dream that you want to chase because you love it. Don't chase it for the money. If you love it and you work hard enough at it because you love it, the money will show. The money will come up. You'll be happy. And I know it's kind of a touchy-feely Hallmark kind of sentiment, but there's a ton of truth in it. And so I've never gone for the money. And then the few times that I even remotely did, I regretted it. So the best piece of advice I ever had was to follow the dream that I have because it's what I love. And that's it. And everything falls into place. It doesn't mean that there's no struggle. Of course there's going to be struggle. But because you love it, it makes the struggle a little less painful,
John is asking, have you heard of Animation Mentor?
I have. Animation Mentor is fantastic. I'm not sure. I used to know some of the instructors on there. I'm not sure if I do anymore, but I do know that I have interviewed a lot of people that have gone through Animation Mentor, and they were great. So if it's something you're thinking about, as far as I know, I think it's a good online course.
Albin is asking, I'm a beginner with digital art, and I don't want to buy Photoshop yet if I don't enjoy digital art. Do you recommend any free drawing or software?
I don't, because I don't know of any. Sorry about that, but all I use is Photoshop. So I don't really explore any other drawing mediums. I do a little bit of Corel Painter, and I'm actually going to be doing a course on that. But beyond that, everything I do is Photoshop. Now, I'm not sure if you realize it or not, but you can get a subscription. And I'm not an advocate. I'm not a salesman for Adobe. But a lot of people won't they won't subscribe to it because they think it's really expensive. But they think you have to get the entire suite. You can get Photoshop for $10 a month. It's actually $9.99 a month. So it's really not a big risk. And what you get is some great software that is, because you're subscribing to it, it's updated on a regular basis. So you always have the latest version. So as far as I'm concerned, in my experiences, I recommend it. I like it.
Craig Petrowski is asking, have you ever became so frustrated with a piece of work to the point where you had to walk away from it?
Oh, all the time. Almost every piece of artwork that I do, especially traditional artwork, you always go through, there's a period that you go through called the hate period. And it's just that. It's not coming out the way you'd envisioned, and you hate it. And it's at that point where you're either going to give up or you're going to just take a little break, walk away, and come back to it. And so I'm a big advocate of not giving up, and just walking away and giving it giving it a little time, and I'll do that. I'll do that a lot.
Colonel Care Bear is asking.
Colonel Care Bear.
Colonel Care Bear. Have you ever tried 3D animation?
I've had that question a lot, and you think I should, by how long I've been doing it, and I've directed 3D movies, but I have never done 3D animation. I tried to learn Maya about 10 years ago, and it was just a disaster. I was terrible, and so I just never have. I've never done 3D animation. All the principles are the same. I think once there we go. Once I think if I could learn the software and the tools, I'd be all right at it. But it's just something I've never done. But we are going to have some 3D animation tutorials, because one of the things we're doing on my website, that's kind of a bad back paw. That's a yucky back paw. I'm going to get rid of that. One of the things we've done over the last month is we've added 3 new on my website, 3 new courses on my website. And one of the things you'll notice if you go and check it out, 2 of the courses are by other instructors. We've decided to go ahead and diversify our content. I've got over 30 different things that you can choose from on my website, and but there's only so much I can teach, and there's a lot of things that I want to teach that I want you guys to learn that I'm not the best to teach. And so what we decided to do, Nick and I, is start approaching people that I know in the industry that are really good at whatever it might be, and ask them to go ahead and do a course in that whatever that subject might be. So, well, first of all, I just put out a new course last month on Photoshop, painting in Photoshop. It's my approach to painting in Photoshop. It's not a Photoshop course per se, because there's a lot in there that I don't go over. I go over how I use it personally to get my paintings the way I get them. So there's that. And then we've also just released a course on story for script writing, for both live action and animation. And it's by Chuck Williams, who is my ex-directing partner, and he also is producer on Brother Bear at Disney. He was a producer at Disney, and so he's got a lot of experience in the industry. And so I asked Chuck a while back if he would do the course, and he agreed, and so we've got that. And then we also just released a brand new course on taking control of color by Ronnie Williford. And Ronnie is a really good friend of mine. We've been friends for 20 years now, and or 22 years, something like that. And we met at Disney. And Ronnie's just an amazing painter, sculptor, printmaker, all of that. And he's got a really great sense of color and how to approach color and how to take control of color. And it was a request that we were getting a lot. Just a color course. So we just released that actually on Christmas Eve. So it's brand new, just came out.
By the way, Nick is asking you to say the web address again.
It's creatureartteacher.com. Our website is Creature Art Teacher, just like it sounds. And it's the art of Aaron Blaise. And on there you'll see, we've got a whole bunch of stuff. And we've got these new courses too. So here I've kind of got the drawing in for this cat. And I pushed the expression on the face. I caricatured him a little bit to give him a little bit of, maybe I'll give him a little pupil here. Just to give him a little character. And now what I want to do is, I don't put the markings in yet. I'm going to go ahead and do the color. But first I'm going to pull up mountain rocks. Snowy mountain rocks. Snowy.
So
mountain What's that?
So snow.
Yeah. Snowy. Is snowy EY or just Y? Snowy. I'll just go like that. Mountain rocks. I'm the worst speller. 50 years old and I still can't spell. Let's see here.
We all have that problem.
Yeah. But see, even stuff like this, I'll jump into Google and just see what inspires me. But I don't depend on Google. That's the big thing. Oh, this is kind of nice. I like, there's something nice there. I'm going to pull that down. I really like the simplicity of like this stuff in here. So I'm going to use that as a little bit of inspiration. I'm going to put that up in here. Because it almost kind of mimics the cat's spots when we get the spots in there. So I'm just going to go in real quick. That was You got any more questions, Dustin?
Can your son draw?
Well, can you, Dustin? What do you think? I think he can draw.
Not like to this level, but I mean.
No, I think Dustin draws. Yeah, he does draw. And I'm actually going to reverse this a little bit.
Yeah, I'm personally more into like sci-fi-ish kind of stuff, like robots and spaceships and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mainly drew back in high school, but I haven't drawn that much since then. Mainly, though, I've been making like graphic art kind of stuff, like mainly like panels and plates for my personal Twitch channel, and made my own logo. But that was pretty much about it. So.
But you are an artist, and actually the videography stuff you're getting into now.
Oh, the cinematography.
Yeah, the drone footage and everything.
Yeah.
It's been shooting some really great drone footage. We're wanting to get out and do a lot more shooting on location from different locales around the country and around the world. And we're going to be doing a little bit more of that this year. And so a little rock right there.
Actually, can I mention to the
sure,
my channel?
Yeah.
So like Dad just said, I may not be as much into drawing, but I just recently got started into drone flying. Got a really nice high performance drone called the Mavic Pro, and it's an amazing drone. I've made 3 videos so far, and you can check them out on my channel at Dustin Blaise. And I'm planning on doing more in the future, like go try and make it a weekend thing.
Yeah, good.
So, yeah.
So I'm just putting in a little bit of rocks here. Try to get this to flow a little better. But I'm kind of milking this a little bit because we've been at this for 45 minutes and I should at least have some color in here. But I've been talking so much. That's okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start adding color. We're going to add color in this cat. Now, one of the things, they tend to be very cool. I'm actually going to go a little warmer. I'm going to decide to go warm. So you'll notice I'm picking, warm part of the spectrum. But I'm going to gray it out. I'm going to start not totally white, but somewhere down in there. And a little bit grayed out, but it's not totally gray. And I put a layer underneath the drawing. Actually, it should go there. Excuse me, boy. Sorry, that cough. I can't shake it. I'm just going to quickly color this in. What do you got, Dustin?
Do you use existing brushes in Photoshop, or do you create them?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I create my own brushes. I used to. I mean, existing brushes are perfectly fine, and if you see the course that I do on my approach to painting in Photoshop, I do several paintings with the basic brushes that they have. So you don't have to have custom brushes in order to do decent work. I just like to make my own, and I like really natural feeling, kind of chalky feeling brushes that feel like something that I would draw with. Excuse me, holy moly. And so that's what these are. This brush in particular, though, this was a brush a friend of mine made, and he gave it to me. But there's the other one that I was sketching with, this brush here. This is, I use this brush 99.9% of the time, and it's a brush that I made, and I actually sell it on my website. Man, I'm sorry, I can't stop coughing. I got a bug in my throat there.
Yeah, it's been going around
Oh, it's
everywhere
driving
in
me
town.
crazy. Kept me up all night last night.
Three of my friends have it, and they're all hanging out at the bar. They're just coughing up lungs left and right.
Well, maybe the problem is that they're hanging out at the bar.
Yeah, that's probably it. But
There we go. So we got a little base color in there. Now I'm going to go in with a little bit more gray. Go ahead, Dustin. Sorry.
I didn't mean to cut you off there. Do you know any illustrators or animators without a degree in art?
Oh, yeah. I know quite a few. Ronnie Williford, who just did our course on story. Oh, that's the wrong layer. Who just did our course on, not story, what am I saying? Just did our course on color. He doesn't have a degree. I don't have a degree. I never got my degree. I went to college, but I never went long enough to get my degree. I went for a little while. I went for 3 years, and then I got hired by Disney. So you don't necessarily have to have a degree. Now, do I recommend you have one? It depends on the person. I think having a degree helps for those that might need a little bit more discipline. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, it's just some people need to go a little bit longer to school. Others maybe don't have to. So it's really kind of it's an individual basis, I think. But I'm just throwing in a little bit more gray, a little bit of gray to vary up. Whoop. Here we go. There we go. To get a little bit more variance in the color. It tend to be a little bit more gray through the body. There we go. Right down into some white feet. You're awfully quiet over there, Dustin. You got anything? Or did everybody go silent?
You're talking here and there. How did you get hired at Disney?
Oh, I paid off a bunch of people.
Couple grand here and there.
No, this is way back, when I got hired at Disney, you got to keep in mind there was no, Disney hadn't made a big comeback yet. This is back in 1988. And so Little Mermaid hadn't come out yet. The Great Mouse Detective had just come out. They were just making Oliver and Company. And, so there still wasn't this big craze about animation. Matter of fact, Ringling, where I went to school, they weren't an animation school yet. They didn't have animation as part of their curriculum. I wanted to work for National Geographic. That's why I went to Ringling. And I wanted to be an illustrator. So I majored in illustration. And there we go. I think that color feels nice. It's just local color. There's no shadow or anything in there yet. But I found out that National Geographic, they only freelance. They didn't have staff illustrators, and I wanted to be on staff. So I decided to put together my portfolio and look elsewhere. And it just so happens that Hallmark Cards and Disney were coming to interview at my school at Ringling. And so I put together a portfolio, and Disney was first. And so that's how I got in with them. And they were looking to do an internship. They had already kind of used up a lot of the animation talent at the animation schools, and so they wanted to see if they were able to go to schools that had a strong basis in drawing and painting, if they could recruit from there and teach the recruits how to animate. And so I put together a drawing portfolio that they liked, and so I got in. And lucky for me, I was paired up with Glenn Keane, who is one of the greatest animators alive, and he taught me animation. And this was right at the end of Oliver and Company when they were making that and just getting started on The Little Mermaid. So it was during that time that I learned animation. And sure enough, I went in, and it was only a 6-week internship, but in that time, Glenn was able to teach me the ins and outs of animation. I got hooked. It just became this lifelong obsession after that. So yeah, it was amazing. So I'm going to do a layer on top here. I'm going to set it to multiply, and I am going to attempt with the markings are a little bit obscure. I'm going to see what I can find. I'm just going to find something that has good markings.
What does that base color do, and why do you choose that color?
Well, that's the base color of a snow leopard. So look, I'll show you. If I pull up the images, you can see on here, it's a little bit warmer. I got to go a little bit warmer with it, but I wanted it to be a little bit cool. But that base color is that's gonna serve as the base, the local color of the fur before I get before I paint the spots on. So right now there's a good image for the spots. Actually, I'm just going to go to large, and this is as long as you're not using let's see, large. My opinion is don't use Google Images as your sole piece of reference. But a lot of times, like in this case, I need some reference for spots on the cat, like here. So I'm going to grab that, and that's what I'm going to use for. Whoops, let me see here. Let me come back. That's what I'm going to use as reference, and that one's not grabbing. So I'm going to grab a different one. Actually, this one isn't bad either. There we go. So that'll come up, and I'll use that as just looking at the spot pattern on the cat's face. That's going to be my basis. There we go. Like I said, I don't know the spot patterns as well on a snow leopard as opposed to, let's say, leopards in general, or a jaguar or that sort of thing. Ooh, that's a fat cat right there. That's a zoo cat. Let's see. I want to get nice body shot. That's nice too. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Look at that forehead. That's the forehead I was talking about. What a beautiful cat, huh? That's just amazing. Wow. I love big cats.
And you cannot lie.
I just got it. I love big cats. All right. Let's see. Let's get a nice body shot.
What is your favorite region in the world?
My favorite region is the Masai Mara in Kenya. Masai Mara and the Serengeti. I am absolutely in love with Africa. I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. If I'll pull up. These are some of my photos. Pull these up. And if I scroll, let me scroll here. These are from my last trip to Africa. One of the things I love about Africa is it's everywhere you turn when you get out into the wild, there's something new. It's like you're living in a Discovery Channel documentary. This is a big male leopard that snuck up behind us because he saw, and these are just photos I shot from our Land Rover. He saw this female leopard that had just made a kill, and so he was trying to sneak up, and he wanted that kill. And here's the mother and cub. She made the kill, and they were coming in to get the food. So it's pretty amazing. Here they are coming in. She had just killed a water buck, and so she was opening up the carcass right in here so that the cub could come in and start feeding. And this is all happening in front of us. This is just a normal day out in the Masai Mara. Look at these shots I got of her as her and her cub walked. This is them making their way to the kill. And and this is all wild. These are not zoo animals. It's just an amazing, amazing place. Wild giraffes. It's an incredible, incredible place. So if you ever get a chance to go to Africa, to go to Kenya, to go to the Masai Mara, I'm so sorry about this coughing. You got to go. It's just an amazing, amazing place. I've got thousands and thousands of photos just from this one trip. This lion pair right here. There's a bunch of photos of them making baby lions. But I mean, look at these shots. I mean, these are wild lions that I was able to get pictures of. It's just an incredible place. I'm getting sidetracked, I know, but it's amazing. Yeah, Dustin.
Do you believe talent is genetic?
No, I do believe that there's some people are born with a natural propensity towards something, but I think 99% of ability comes from practice. I think someone can be very talented at something and not practice, and someone that doesn't have the same amount of talent can come up with through a lot of hard work and greatly surpass that person. I'm glad you asked that because I get a lot of people that say, "Oh my gosh, you're so talented," and when I was a kid, I did have a kind of a natural drift towards art, and I was probably a little better than some of the other kids, but it wasn't that much better. But I was obsessed with it, and it was something I never wanted to stop doing. And so I've just been drawing. I look at my drawings from when I was 16, 17 years old, and they're horrible. They're absolutely horrible. And so, practice makes perfect. That's the old adage, right? And so I'm a big firm believer in practice over anything else. All right, I'm going to go ahead, Dustin.
Jose asks, Aaron, what would you recommend for someone who is okay at drawing but has problems with painting, rendering, and using values?
Practice, 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 practice. And I know I sound like a broken record, and people gets tired of me saying that, but it's, everybody asks me, what do I recommend for this or that or whatever, and there's no magic answer. The best thing you can do to improve on anything is to do it. If you want to be a great football player, you play a lot of football. If you want to be a great whatever, you do a lot of whatever that is. And so just get out there and draw, practice, render, paint. Look at other artists. Look at people that you admire and see what it is that they do and try to emulate them through emulating and copying. And I'm saying copying, yes. It's through doing that, you'll learn. You'll learn things. And so I really recommend just working hard and looking at others, and I don't mean comparing either, because a lot of people get hung up on comparing and then get upset when they don't draw or paint as well as X, as well as this person or whatever. And that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, get in there and just try to figure out what it is that they do, if that's something you like, and work at it. There's a lot of wildlife artists that I was a big fan of as a kid, and so I copied their work constantly. And through that copying, I learned a lot, actually.
Vincent Brigand is asking, how long does it take you to do a 1-minute animation in black and white?
1 minute of animation, usually, if it's all full animation, to do 1 minute will usually take me about a month. It takes me about a month to do a minute, and that's one character. So, and and that's relatively now. It's not all on ones. It's there's some twos in there and that sort of thing. But depending on how involved it is, it's usually about a month to do a minute of animation for me. So, keeping in mind we're doing Snow Bear, and that's going to be about 8 minutes. So it's probably going to take us about 8 months just to do the animation. So we need to get on it, Nick Birch, Dustin Blaise. All right. There we go. Whoops. Blowing up some of my reference so I can see the spot patterns.
Which hand do you draw with it? You're a lefty, right?
I am a lefty. My brother is a lefty. My mother was a lefty. My father is a lefty. Everybody in my family is left-handed. My immediate family. My kids aren't. You're not left-handed, right, Dustin?
Um, no, when it comes to writing or drawing, no, I'm not right-handed. But then if I'm like shooting like a paintball gun or something,
Switch over?
I switch to the left hand.
Yeah.
And it's weird that I also aim with my left eye, even though it's my worst eye.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. Like I can't see as good out of my left than I can on my right, and yet I use it as my dominant eye.
Gotcha. Very, very interesting.
It is so bizarre.
How bizarre.
Clara Wimmer is asking, could you maybe show us some of your really old animations or illustrations from where you were still learning in a future video?
I will do that. I have to find them, but I will definitely do that. I'm just discovering that the body shot that I found isn't that great. I don't have any great footage, photos of spots. How about if I get more specific in the Snow Leopard markings? There we go. There we go. See, they're not super. They're kind of faint. That's the thing about Snow Leopard markings. They're a little bit faint. There's a good one. Yeah, that's good. Wunderbar. All right. Sorry this is taking so long, guys. I'm having a great time. But let's I'm gonna kick this into high gear a little bit. And
You want to go ludicrous speed?
ludicrous. Right now I just want to get some of these spots in. Go ahead and ask questions.
How do you deal with or handle clients and client edits and criticisms while staying true to your vision?
I don't, because I don't deal with clients anymore. But when I did have clients, you know what, they are always right. First of all, now they hired you for a reason, and so you walk a fine line of pushing what you think it should be to what they're going to accept, and so they always won out, and I always provided the best I could provide within the vision they have, but I would also try to push my vision to help improve theirs, if that makes sense. And sometimes it worked, and sometimes it didn't.
Are you working on horse animations? You already have a horse course, correct?
I do have a horse course. Of course I have a horse course. But I'm not currently working on any horse animation, although there is horse animation in the course where I talk about horse locomotion. That was a fun course to create because I really love animating horses and drawing horses and whatnot. But it was great. So yeah, I'm just drawing, just coming in and having fun with some of these markings. Very distinct markings snow leopards have. Now, right now it looks nice, and it looks really not nice. It looks really flat. But we're going to go and we're going to add a lot of dimension once I get kind of this stuff in here. I'm trying to be really spontaneous with a lot of it. Right along the back, they have very specific markings. Yeah, they get kind of complex.
What did you take your Africa pictures with? iPhone, official camera?
This camera right here. This is my Canon D7. My 7D, sorry. I've had this camera for 5 years, and it's an awesome camera. It's the Canon 7D, and this is my 70 to 300 telephoto. It's a great all-around camera, really durable. You can see on the photos that I showed you guys, they're great photos. They came out really top-notch. I was really happy with everything, and everything's digital, no film, not anymore for me anyway. And so that's what I use.
What do you think does it need to get into Disney nowadays? I can't just send them my portfolio, right?
Well, I mean, depends on what you're looking for. You can just submit a portfolio, but the portfolio has to be geared towards, you know, whatever it is that you're doing. So if you want to be a modeler, you send in a modeling portfolio along with, you know, turntables and things like that. If you want to be a character designer, then yeah, you can send in a character design portfolio. They want to see how well you draw, how well you design. Um, yes, you can still just send in a portfolio. It's really recommended that you do an online portfolio. It's a lot easier now. You know, the days of sending in physical portfolios are a kind of a thing of the past now. But you know, that being said, you know, put something together. There we go. And yeah, they're still looking.
Do you think 2D animation is still relevant nowadays?
Of
Do you
course,
think
yeah.
it's still worth learning?
Yes, I do think it's still worth learning, and I do think it's relevant. I think it's on the verge of making a comeback, to be honest with you. Um, and I don't think it's just me being wishful thinking. Um, I think there's enough of a push out there where people are really wanting to see it that I think we're going to start seeing people that still have the abilities bringing it back. And I think it's up to us to do that as artists. And you know, we're going to try to do it as much as we can in our own little way with our little shorts and everything. But as you know, as far as big features go, you know, making features in 2D, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe. Um, but I still think it's a relevant art form that I think is going to be around for forever. You know, 2D it's like painting. You know, painting never went away because the camera came out. So it's just one of those things. I think it'll come back around again, and we'll see a resurgence at some point. You know, maybe not a year from now, maybe not 5 years from now, but maybe in the next 10 years, maybe we'll see something, and I think that's pretty exciting.
By the way, somebody mentioned that to help with your coughing, you should eat a spoon of honey. Will help with your coughing, make your
I
throat feel
know,
better.
I know. That's something I've got some honey too, and I've been meaning to do it. But the coughing, oh my gosh, I'll do anything at this point because it's driving me crazy.
Um, and you've used iPad and apps like Procreate, right? And
Yes,
did you catch Blue Planet 2?
I have not caught it yet, and I've got it on Netflix, but I haven't turned it on yet. But I will be very soon. So you can see what I'm doing right now is I'm just laying very loosely, laying in these spots. And what I'm going to do, you'll see what I'm going to do in just a second. The end of the tail gets dark.
How do you deal with art frustration if you ever feel it?
You know what? Art frustration was something that I used to go through when I was younger. I've learned how to work through it, and the biggest way I've learned to work through it is to just draw. You know, when I don't know what to draw or I feel like it's not coming out right, I don't give up. I don't give in to the frustration. I push even harder. I'll change my subject matter. I'll change the way I'm looking at something. Um, I just don't stop. And so that's how I break through it. So watch now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my smear tool, and I've got this brush that's just a bunch of, you can see here, it's just a bunch of dots. But what it does is it creates a nice fur texture.
What do you think about furry art and the furry culture?
I don't understand it, and that's all I'll say. I don't quite sure I get it, but it doesn't. That's just because I'm ignorant. I've actually been invited. Help me out, Nick. I've been invited to, I think, four furry conventions as the guest of honor. I think because of my affiliation with drawing animals the way I do, um, I'm not familiar with it, so I don't understand it. It's something that I've never, I don't. None of my friends are furries, and so I don't know. So put it that way.
Can you explain in a bit how to use the overlay layer for highlights?
Sure, and actually, I'll be doing that. But right now, I'm just going to go through really quickly, and you can see I'm just kind of getting some fur texture, very quickly, because I'm going to go back in with more fur textures later on. I'm using the smear tool with these dots, and what it does is it creates this really great fur texture.
What drawing software do you use? You're using Photoshop, right?
Yes.
What is your favorite traditional painting medium?
You know what? I kind of go all over the place. I love, excuse me, sorry. I love watercolor. It's probably my favorite, just because it's the first medium I learned as a child, and so I'm most comfortable with it. I love oil. I've recently gotten back into gouache. I like acrylic, so I love charcoal. So it's really it's a lot of I love a lot of different mediums. I don't really have a favorite. I'm just going to quickly go over these. This is the place where it's the most furry. So what I'm going to do next, yeah, because I'm kind of spinning my wheels here, talking so much. I mean, we've been at it for a little over an hour, and this is all we've got. But it's not too bad. We got kind of a good start. So let's go ahead. I'm going to throw a layer on here. I'm going to set it to multiply, and we're going to do some shadows. I want the shadows to be cool, so I'm going to go to blue, and I'm going to keep it kind of in the gray area and a little bit higher than mid-tone, right about in there. I'm going to grab this brush here, and let's imagine the light. Let's imagine the light is coming from over here in this direction. So erase that because we don't want a big arrow in our picture. I'm going to put all this in shadow. Nice cool shadow.
What do you think about the Japanese animation, or anime for short?
I think there's good, just like American animation. I think there's good and there's bad. Um, I love Miyazaki. I've always been a fan of Miyazaki. I've met Miyazaki. I've been to Studio Ghibli, and I love everything he does. Sometimes I don't understand the stories as well, but I think it's a difference in cultural storytelling. But I love his work, their work, the studio's work. To be honest with you, I don't keep up enough with Japanese animation or Asian animation in general to form a super strong opinion or know who's hot and who's not right now. I'm so focused on a lot of times what I'm doing. I put blinders on and I'm not seeing, especially not being part of the studio atmosphere anymore. I'm not hearing about, who's hot and who's not. So,
What was your favorite film of the year?
my favorite film of the year. Wow, that's a good question. uh, I haven't seen The Shape of Water yet. I've really been excited to see that. Man, this cough is driving me crazy. I'm trying to think. I've seen some really good ones too. I just saw Lady Bird, which I thought was great. Excuse me for 1 second, because I'm going to get a drink of water. Sorry, Dustin. Dustin, entertain everybody.
Hi. So yeah, I'm just sitting here hanging out. If you guys got any questions, I'll try to answer them. And he's actually getting a glass of water right now.
I'm back. Sorry about that. I couldn't talk without coughing. Much better. Trying to think I've seen some great movies too. And I'm drawing a blank. I just saw 3 Billboards, which I thought was really great. What are you laughing at, Dustin?
Oh, just everybody laughing for when you left. I was like, hi. everybody's just laughing.
Sorry, I couldn't talk. So right now, when I'm thinking about that light coming from over here, and so I'm really putting a lot of the cat into shadow. I want nice, cool shadow over here. Like that hip. There we go. Probably just have enough time to get the cat. I'll get a little bit of the environment in. There we go. See, when you set it to multiply, you're able to kind of work over the whole thing, and it comes through. It multiplies with the image below. So I'm going to go underneath the cat, and let's do some local color. Let's lay in the snow. A little bit of snow here.
Have you seen Coco?
You know, I haven't seen Coco. I've been meaning to see it, and I just haven't been able to get the time to see it. I haven't seen Ferdinand yet, which I've really wanted to see. There's a few movies, a few animated films those are the 2 animated films that I really wanted to see that I haven't been able to see yet. And I regret that I haven't.
Also, could you speak to your experience with traditional background painting for animation? And where could I learn more? It's a dying art.
It really is a dying art. I was never a background painter. I was around the backgrounds a lot, and as a director, I approved the backgrounds, and but it is a dying art, and especially traditional background painting, that's a tough one. But it's to me it's just good solid painting, good background painting, especially when you look at the old classics. The good background painters back then, they were painters to begin with. They were great painters to start with. And if you look at like the watercolors from Pinocchio and the oil paintings that they did for Bambi and that sort of thing. Whoops, that was the wrong layer. They're just absolutely stunning. And that was the thing. They were good painters to begin with, and everybody they were masters at their mediums. The things that always fascinated me with the background painters at Disney was their ability to jump from medium to medium. It was amazing. Acrylic, oil, watercolor, it didn't matter, and that always fascinated me.
What's more important to learn right first, sketching or painting?
I think drawing is more important to learn first. My personal opinion. I think it all starts with drawing. I think being a good draftsman is the most important thing, personally. So if you don't agree, that's great. But my personal experience, especially if you want to do representational art, like what I'm doing now, I think the first thing you need to learn to do is draw, and then from there, you can branch off. You can learn to paint, do whatever. But yeah, I think that's the basis.
Basically, you learn to put the foundation in first before you put on the bricks.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So I'm just going in and laying in some rocks. Very loose color here.
Do you have any advice to become better at drawing?
Yeah, it's the same advice I've always given, and that is to get better at anything, you do it a lot. So draw. The only way you're going to get better at drawing is by drawing. And I know that sounds like a crappy answer, but that's the only way you're going to get better, is to draw. That's the only way I've gotten better. And you just got to draw. Draw, draw, draw.
Any advice on where to get good brushes for Photoshop for a beginning artist? And do you sell yours?
Yes. The best place to get brushes for Photoshop is creatureartteacher.com. No, really. I have hundreds of brushes for sale on my site. I'm going to set that to multiply. There we go. That's what I want. There's also a site called, is it Brush Easy? I think it's called Brush Easy, where I used to get a lot of brushes before I started making my own. But I do sell them on my site. So if you're interested, go to creatureartteacher.com and you'll find my brushes there. And there's a lot of free brushes out there. You just got to look up Photoshop brushes, do a search of Photoshop brushes, and you'll find all kinds of stuff out there. So you don't have to get just mine. There's a lot of great stuff out there.
Have you tried OpenTunes?
OpenTunes. No, what is OpenTunes? Do you know what it is, Dustin?
I have no idea.
I'm assuming it's royalty-free music?
I'm thinking it might be a kind of software used for kind of like TV Paint, maybe?
I don't know. I'm sure someone will tell us here in a minute.
Another question. What do you think of Cuphead?
Oh, is that the video game?
Yeah, that like 1920s, 30s.
Oh, I love it. I think it's
game.
fantastic. I love it, love it, love it.
Yeah, I personally love the animation of that as well. Very smooth. And
It's
all
awesome.
hand drawn.
I know. It's great.
Oh, Nick helped us with the OpenTunes. It's animation software by Ghibli.
Oh, well, obviously I don't know what it is, so that's pretty cool. So here I'm just laying in a few shadows. I'm just trying to break this space up a little bit. There we go. There. Now I'm going to go in on the cat. Let's do an overlay layer. This is really what I would do in the first 40 minutes or so of a piece, and just laying in the initial base color. And here I've set it to overlay. This is for the person that asked, if I would show how I use overlay for highlights. And so I'm grabbing a relatively bright color, and I set it to overlay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my brush here. I want this to be somewhat rimlet, so I'm just going to go along the edges and just highlight. Let me blow that up a little bit more for you. Where the light's going to be hitting.
Have you ever thought about making a video on how to paint a landscape?
Sure. I've actually done a couple on. There's one or two on in watercolor painting landscapes on my YouTube channel. Um, but yeah, I can do more. I plan on doing more. So here I want to get a little bit of fur texture in there, catching light.
What's something that frustrates you using Photoshop, and how do you overcome it?
I don't know. I've adapted to using Photoshop so much. I can't think of anything that frustrates me. Um, I really like Photoshop, so there's not really anything that frustrates me about it. I like, as far as digital artwork goes, I like everything that it does. At one time, before I had discovered what the mixing brush was, I really wished that there was a brush that could paint like I was painting in wet oils and that sort of thing, but that's what the mixing brush does. So, it's got everything I need. So here I'm just going in and highlighting these edges here. We're just doing this quick. I'm trying to push this to be somewhat cartoony, so it's going to be, it's not going to be super realistic, but it'll be fun.
What traditional medium would you consider a favorite when not working digital, like watercolor or charcoal?
Yeah, I got that question earlier. I love watercolor, um, and I like oil. I like them all. So, watercolor is probably my favorite. But like I said, I just started gouache. I was saying earlier, and I'm really digging gouache because gouache is a water-based. It's an opaque watercolor, is what it is. And so it has all the benefits of watercolor, but then I can go in and treat it opaque, like an acrylic, and it gives me the same effects as an acrylic. But once it dries, I then have the ability to go in and I can rework it. It can be reconstituted with water, whereas acrylic you can't. It's a plastic base. It's a latex based paint. So once it dries, it's waterproof. But with gouache, you can work it as much as you want with water.
And talking about from the movie Coco before, what do you think so far of Disney and Pixar's movies nowadays, as far as like their 3D CGI goes?
You know what? I think Disney and Pixar are always consistent with putting out good films. Now you can argue that, a lot of people argue this film's not good, or it's not as good as this or whatever, and maybe they're not. We're not always going to put out consistently great films in relation to what we put out last time or the time before that or whatever. But if you're looking at just general consistency of the product, meaning the film, I think the most consistent company is Disney and Pixar. I think they know how to make films. I worked for John Lasseter. I know he knows how to make a good movie, and the people that are there now are the people I worked with, and they're all wonderful storytellers that know how to put together a good film. And so that to me is, that's why they know how to do it, and so they just keep consistently doing it.
And also the technology that they use for all that stuff is mind blowing. Like, you would not stop talking for like the next half hour about Moana's ocean water.
Yeah, it was great. It really was. It was good.
Yeah, like or like both of us just watching the movie, and the whole entire time, like her out in the ocean, we're just both looking at the water, going, "Wow."
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. It was really, really amazing. I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to go into the erodible tips right here. I just want to experiment a little bit, and I'm going to grab a little bit of a bright color.
What size or resolution canvas do you use, and how do you decide?
Like right now, I am image size. It's 16 width by 20 high, inches. I go by inches. And so my longest dimension, I always make 20 inches because that's kind of my limit. And then the smaller dimension, I'll make whatever. So if I want square, I'll do 20 by 20. If I want it to be 4 by 5, then I'll do 16 by 20, which is what I'm doing now. But I always keep the longest dimension 20 inches, and I always do it at 300 DPI. I find that always gives me the right resolution that I'm looking for.
Who's your favorite artist at Disney so far?
Who's my favorite artist at Disney?
Yeah.
I don't have a favorite artist at Disney. Everybody is great there, and I'm not trying to cop out. I really do believe that everyone there is absolutely fantastic. They're all great.
Were you frustrated, as I was, when Disney abandoned its 2D animation roots for more of a 3D direction?
Of course. My whole background is 2D. I was there when they announced that there was no more 2D. It's like a sock to the gut. But but I understand it too. And you can't live in the past. You have to move on. And in that case, it was time to explore new mediums. And you can't argue. A lot of people will argue one way or the other about the audience. The audience was driving that and that decision, and there's a lot of speculation as to, whether or not it was the right way to go. It doesn't matter. It's the way they went, and and it's fine. But it's. I think someone was asking earlier, do you think we'll come back to it? I do think we'll come back to 2D at some point. It might not be Disney. It might be somebody else. But I think it's going to happen. So I'm just coming in with a little bit cooler reflected color right now.
How many hours do you normally draw in a day?
If you averaged out for the week, it's not a ton. If you average out for the week, it's probably 15, 20 hours a week I'm drawing. I don't sit at my desk for 8 or 9 hours. I don't do it the way I used to.
Honestly, I thought it was 24/7.
No, it's like about 15 or 20 a week. Now, if I'm really into a project, then I'm like anybody else. I won't put it down.
Did you draw your current avatar for your YouTube channel?
I did. Yep, that's me. When I had shorter. Well, actually, my hair's short again. When I had short hair.
Have you tried Autodesk Sketchbook Pro?
No. Oh, is that? Oh, no, I haven't. No, I have not.
Have you tried other graphics tablets brands?
Well, I've tried. I've got an iPad Pro with Procreate. Is that the same thing? I'm not sure if that's the same thing. But I've used that, and I love it. So right now what I'm doing is I'm going in and adding reflected light into the fur with that shadow. So I want it to feel like it's reflecting a little bit of the sky in the background. See, these little touches here can really do a lot for the image.
I know you like to travel. Have you ever been to Norway? I really recommend it. The Northern Lights and Midnight Sun is beautiful.
I've seen the Midnight Sun, but not in Norway. I've seen it in Alaska. I have not been to Norway. I want to go to Norway. Matter of fact, I'm talking to a friend about going to Norway soon. But no, I have not been to Norway, and thank you for the recommendation because I definitely want to go. So that just reassures me that I'm making the right decision.
And if you ever go, take me with you.
Okay. So here I'm just throwing in some more reflected color. Boy, this thing's taking a long time.
Have you seen the Northern Lights before?
I'm not only briefly, only like from an airplane from way too far south. I've never seen them in their full glory.
Do you ever draw industrial type stuff like cars, spaceships, etc.?
You know, I don't. I get that question a lot. I'm going in right now with more shadow, going in to put some deeper shadows in. I don't. It's not something that interests me a whole lot. I mean, I like looking at it. I just don't like doing it.
I mean, yeah, you've done it before, but it's just not your favorite.
It's not my
thing to
choice.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more my kind of style, like the spaceships, and my personal favorite stuff to build is like, or draw is like walkers, like Mech Warrior or.
Uh-huh.
But will you try Metabang Paint Pro?
I don't know what that is. I may or may not. Once again, you know, I use Photoshop pretty exclusively because it works for me.
And actually answer the next question. Do you only use Photoshop when you paint digitally?
Pretty much. I do use Corel Painter. And I'll be doing a course on Painter soon. But beyond that, I'm kind of a creature of habit. So whatever I find that I like, I'll stick with it.
Have you ever imagined yourself as an animal character? Were Simba and Mufasa a representation of yourself in any way? You have a similar persona. Must be the hair.
or my old hair.
Or my current hair.
Yeah, right.
Rawr.
But yeah, you know, I really kind of there's something about big cats and bears that I relate to.
What do you find difficult to draw?
I don't know. The way I approach drawing is I try to do the research. If it's something I don't know, I'll do the research and approach it from a very shape-oriented approach. So there's nothing that I find difficult. There's things that I'm not familiar with, and I'll sit down and figure it out. But you know, through the methods that I have, I've kind of learned how to approach everything.
What animal is the one that best represents you?
Yeah, you just asked me that, Dustin.
Oh. Well, it was worded differently.
I have affiliation with bears and big cats. You know, either bears or big cats.
Is it okay if I copy other artists more than I draw from imagination?
You know, I think it is okay. Don't pass it off as your own. I do think that as long as you're learning, if that's what the goal is to learn, then I think it is okay to emulate and copy other artists because you're going to learn. You're going to learn technique. Now, at some point, you have to break out on your own and you know, find your way. But once again, as long as you're not passing it off as your own work, and you're trying to learn, then yeah, I think it's okay to do that. We've all done it. That's how we all learned as young artists.
What computer do you use? I'm thinking of getting a PC that can handle better all the tough animation programs.
I use I've got Apple, so I've got Mac, and so that's what I use. And I've got a Mac Pro right now that I'm using, and then obviously the hardware, the screen that I got is a Wacom Cintiq 27 QHD. So it's a big screen, big screen. So I'm just gonna quickly lay in a little bit more of this, and we're gonna call it a day. I'm gonna finish this up kind of quick.
Then I'm gonna skip to the newest questions. I apologize for anybody that asked a question I didn't answer just yet. If you really want me to ask them. Just repeat the question. I'll try to get to it. Um, let's see here. Um, what is something you want to draw but is out of your comfort zone?
Something. Uh, you know what? I don't know because I don't. That's not something that I think about. I don't. I draw whatever I want to draw anytime I want to draw it. I don't know. It's that's outside of my comfort zone. Um, that's a really good question, and I don't have an answer for you right now. Sorry.
I know I wish to design a character. I want to draw it, but I don't have a story. What can I do when I want to design a character, but I don't have a story?
Well, I mean, I still think it's possible to design a character without a story, but you should, if you want this character to be believable, you should have some kind of background, at least a background story for the character. Um, you know, my biggest recommendation always is when you're designing characters to have a story, because when you have the story, then you've got all the information you need to design that character, and they become much more rich. Um, But some people, I mean, like yourself, probably you've got this character in mind. You don't have the story yet, but you're really excited. And my recommendation is just to sit down, even if it takes 10 minutes, just something short, and try to come up with something that, well, just give them a little bit of background, just to fill it out a little bit. And a lot of times that's enough to at least get the design process started.
What is the best way to gain attention to your art online?
Consistent posting. First of all, make sure it's the best quality you can make it, and then post it consistently. Get out there and I try to post as consistently as I can. Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff, and that's how we keep our presence online out there.
Any chance you will create a gouache course?
You know what? I've been thinking about it because I've really been enjoying getting back into gouache. So yes, there's definitely a possibility that I'll be doing that.
And we did just recently make a video yesterday. I haven't finished editing it yet, but should be coming out pretty soon. It's just like one single video of us going on the lake while you did
Yep.
the gouache. So that's gonna be coming up pretty soon.
Ed Zachary.
Ed Zachary. Let's see.
I'm just putting on a few finishing touches here.
Do you recommend using a grid method for beginners?
Sure. I think the grid method is that works fine. That's absolutely fine. I'm going to chop this.
Since you were there in the digital art was invented, I'd love to hear about your transition into the media. If you could talk about that a little bit.
When I transitioned into drawing digitally, it was out of necessity because I was directing a digital film, and so I figured I was still drawing on paper and pencil, with paper with pencil and paint and that sort of thing. So it was really me just deciding, you know what, I need to do this. And so I went, and I was working at Disney at the time, so I asked them to get me Photoshop, which they did, and I got a Cintiq. And I have a really good friend that was art directing at the time, and he took a little bit of time. His name was Andy Harkness, and he's currently at Disney. He just got done, I think the last film he just art directed was Moana. And so he started teaching me Photoshop, started showing me the ropes. And once I started getting a hang of it, the fear went away. I was always afraid of kind of the digital stuff. And so once that went away, then it was fine. And then I just never looked back. And the great thing about working digitally is to me now is that to me it's just another medium. It's like watercolor. It's I love it. I love the ability to sit down and create an image, in a matter of minutes, and have some fun with it.
When can we expect a video of Dustin drawing and Aaron asking the questions?
I don't know about that. What do you think, Dustin?
I have no idea. That would be way outside my comfort zone, but I'd be willing to try. Although, I think it would be more interesting to take the drone out and live stream that.
That would be fun.
Because one of the cool features of the drone is that you can actually live stream the footage that you're getting from the drone to the controller. So
True.
people on Facebook can see what you're looking at.
That's right. Let me. I'm going to try something here. Let's see if I've got a grunge texture. I'm going to do a little cheat.
I'm falling behind again. Go down the bottom of the list here.
Let's see. What is this one? It's kind of interesting. It's an old paper texture. Let me open up another one.
I'm currently working with an app called Sketch Club. What would you recommend?
As far as a sketch app?
I believe so, yes.
Well, let's see. I think Procreate's great. So, but I don't know. I'm not sure if you're able to get that. Because are you on an iPad Pro? If you're on an iPad Pro, I think Procreate is only on iPad Pro. I think I could be wrong. Here we go. These are the textures I'm looking for. These are the droids I'm looking for. Looking for a nice kind of rocky, grungy. That's kind of interesting. Texture. Cartoon cool. I don't know what that is. Let's see.
Do you think drawing wildlife from videos at all is helpful?
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier.
Oh.
Yes, drawing. If you can draw from videos, it's much more helpful than drawing from photos. Put it that way. I'm going to open this one first. I'll do a little combination here. So let's see, where do I want to put this? I want to put this right here. We're going to go multiply. I'm going to take this piece and drag it over. Oh, that's the one I want to set to multiply.
Have you tried 3D sculpting?
I have not. I want to try it. I definitely want to try it. I've not done it yet. So here we've got a little texture on the rocks. And what I'm going to do, I've set it to multiply. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come in with my eraser. I'm going to erase away where the snow is.
When I paint with oils, I have trouble cleaning my art supplies after using them. How do you clean yours?
Cleaning? I'm not sure I understand.
Oil paints.
I use turpentine. That's how I clean my brushes.
Turpentine?
Turpentine, yeah. Or mineral spirits. Yeah, that's how I clean everything. That's how you clean them. Turpentine and mineral spirits. So we got a little bit of rock. See, I just cheated and threw some rock texture in there. There. Now maybe we can throw a little bit of, because we got the light here. Let's go a little warmer, a little brighter. Maybe there's a little bit of light being caught on some of these edges of these rocks.
Have you ever drawn a prehistoric animal such as a saber-toothed cat, mammoth, dinosaur, etc.?
I have. Matter of fact, I was really into like building up images off of skulls. Matter of fact, let me see if I have it. I might be able to pull it up. This might not be in there. There he is. This one, I did that. That's a saber tooth where I started off with a skull and then drew over the skull and created the cat. This is the kind of stuff that I wanted to do for National Geographic when I was young. Let me show you. Here it is with the skull. So I started off with that skull, and let's see what this is. Whoops.
Which horizontal brush are you using right now?
That's my homemade brush. I'm opening up the skull right now. Or the actual cat. So if I turn this is what I started with. There's the skull right there. And then I kind of drew the cat around it. And so that's the cat that I ended up with. And yeah, so that's what I created there. I love doing this kind of stuff. And so here, this is a very rough looking cat, but you know, it was fun to do today. It's fun to kick off the dust and sit with you guys. I'm gonna just add a little bit of warmth.
Any tips for digitally painting realistic fur?
Yeah, I mean, there's you can create your own fur brushes, which is what I have. I've got my own fur brushes. Whoops. You can create your own. It all, you know, or you can just go in and paint the fur like I'm doing now by hand, which is, you know, there's also that. Right now I'm trying to get a little bit of reflected light back onto this elbow that's reflecting off of this right here.
I got an interesting question here.
This is kicking light back like so. Yeah.
What was your eureka moment in drawing? I agree practice makes perfect, but I also remember when I learned about 5-point perspective, then drawing from my shoulder. What was your big step?
Wow, that's a good one. Understanding three values, I think. When I started understanding how to use three values, it took a lot of the work out of... I was overworking everything before, but once I broke everything down to three values, then it wasn't... I wasn't overworking everything after that. That was a big one for me. Just learning figure in general, sitting down and drawing figure, you know, when I was about 18 years old, drawing figure from life rather than out of, you know, anatomy books. That was huge.
Do you have any advice for drawing with pen or ink and life drawing in general?
Yeah, for life drawing, once again, I'll just say you got to draw from life. So the key word in life drawing is life. You got to draw from life. And then pen and ink, it depends on what you want to do, but it once again, it comes down to draftsmanship. Make sure the drawing is there before you start inking. And if you want to just ink right away, which is what I like to do a lot of times, then you just got to be careful with that drawing. Make sure that drawing is strong. There we go. Let's give him some whiskers. Throw on a whisker layer.
What is your immediate knee-jerk reaction when you find people have gone step by step through your tutorials and post them on their Instagram and give you credit?
Oh, I think it's awesome. I love that. You know, if that just tells me people are learning, and it makes me really, really happy. Yeah, my knee jerk is joy. It just makes me super, super happy. Um, yeah, I really love that.
Do you have any recommendations for someone wanting to buy an iPad?
You know what, Nick, you should be the one to do that one. I'm a technological dummy. So, but Nick, my business partner, is all over it. He's the guy to ask. He buys us all the equipment we need. He's the brains in this outfit.
Who elected you in this outfit?
There we
What
go.
software or program should I use to animate as a beginner?
You know, it depends on how much you want to get into it. I really recommend TV Paint. That's the software that I use. TV Paint software. This is it right here. This is a little piece of animation that I started last week that I need to get back to. But it's a great piece of software in the sense that, for me, you can see the line quality of the drawing utensils that they have. The brushes are great, and so it feels like I'm really drawing on paper. But adjusting timing, and because I work on a large Cintiq, it's like I really am working on a large piece of paper. So this is the size that I work at right now, and it's pretty big. So I really recommend TV Paint. It's not cheap, but it's a great piece of software, and I'm a big believer in buying, whatever it is that you're doing, get the right tool for the job. And to me, TV Paint is the right tool for the job. So I love TV Paint.
Which Wacom are you currently using?
I'm on a Wacom Cintiq 27 QHD, so it's a 27-inch screen. So I'm just going to come in and hit a few little highlight details in the reflected light. I decided to kind of break it down because I've been yakking so much, talking. I'm not drawing as much. But now I'm kind of drawing around some of the markings.
How do you color in TV Paint?
Just like I'm coloring in Photoshop. You can. They actually have paint layers. So if you want to color your character, you can create a layer underneath the line work if you want the line work to be on top. There's a lot of different ways to color and paint in TV Paint. Lots of different ways. There's no single way of doing it. So yeah, it's great. I don't know if I answered you or not, but
Do you have any animation courses?
oh yeah, on my website, I've creatureartteacher.com. I've got an entire introduction to animation, entire animation course. It's all the fundamentals. You don't have to know digital animation. You can do it on paper if you want. It's really just me talking about, the principles of animation that I've learned over the years as an up-and-coming animator at Disney. So I've taken all my experiences from Disney and boiled them down into this course. So yes, I do. There we go.
If you got bullied at school for drawing, how did you cope? I got bullied for drawing, which kind of made me not want to draw longer.
I never got bullied for drawing, and if I did, I fought back. Not saying you didn't fight back, but I was I was always a bigger guy than a lot of the other kids, and so no one bothered me. So I never had any problem with as far as art goes, and you shouldn't let them stop you from drawing either. Not necessarily fight back, but it's their issue, not yours. So if you want to draw, go home and draw. Don't worry about what other people think at school. Like I said, it's their issue, not yours. So screw them.
And usually when somebody bullies somebody on a specific thing, it's because they're jealous that they're better at that thing than they are.
It's true.
So consider it almost like a compliment in a way, and just take advantage of that.
Yeah. You got bullied a few times, right, Dustin?
Oh yeah, I've been bullied a few times here and there, and usually I'll just like roll with it, you know. Like I would ignore them a little bit. Eventually, at one point, my sister ended up.
Your sister stepped in.
Having my back in the end. Like I tried to stand up for myself one time, and when I walked away, she was actually following me and found out who my bullies were and confronted them about it. And I didn't see them ever. I didn't see or hear from them ever again. But even before that, I did have one or two bullies, and I kind of just stood up for myself and kind of bit the bullet. I even like cracked jokes back at them. They were like, "Oh, okay, this guy's cool," and ended up hanging out. So, but yeah, like if they keep bullying or anything, just just try to talk to them. Like just try to figure out like why they do in the first place, and just see if you guys can talk everything out. But other than that, like if they're specifically bullying you for your drawing, yeah, they're just jealous that you can draw better than them. That's usually what it means.
But don't let it stop you.
No, not at all.
So I'm just kind of noodling this a little bit. Noodling meaning I'm just kind of mindlessly going over it. I'm going to go in and hit the stripes one more time. And then we're going to call it a day. We're going to finish it up. It's been 2 hours. I've spent way too long on this. But it's been fun. I've enjoyed hanging out with you guys again. I'm going to go in with a little bit darker.
Would you say there are any cons in drawing your animation digitally at all?
Well, you don't have a physical piece of paper. You don't have a physical drawing. And, you know, to be honest with you, I've come to enjoy animating digitally by hand more than drawing on paper, because I'm able to get instant satisfaction and playback, and I can throw in-betweens in really quick and get playback. I don't have to reshoot everything. So there's that. But I do miss having a stack of original artwork on my desk at the end of, you know, animating a big scene. So that's a tough one. But that, to me, that's really the only con. To me, everything else is a big pro. I mean, it's the animated short we're going to be doing is all going to be done. It's all going to be done digitally because of the ease at which I can do that in. You know, it's great.
How many valleys would you say this Snow Leopard painting is? I see 5. But to your point earlier, I still find it so hard to break it down.
Yeah, I mean, really, when you think about it, I've got my main tone in here. Forget the spots, which is one value. I've got the highlights as another value. To me, it's probably 4 values. The mid-tone, dark, light, and then highlights.
I actually got a question directed towards me, if you don't mind me answering the question. And it says, Dustin, did anyone know that your dad was a Disney animator, and did you get popular when you were in school? I would say the whole popularity thing never really happened. I mean, I'll eventually, at some point, say, like, yeah, my dad's a Disney animator, that's why I moved out here in the first place. Like, it all started when I was in California, and they wouldn't really know about it until I told about it, and it never really gave me popularity, and I wasn't looking for popularity. But I think the worst time of that was when I first got started in the company called Digital Domain Media Group that Dad was a part of in Florida. And he helped me get a foot in the door through a training course, which was kind of a boot camp. It was very much like a school. So on the first day, Everybody was introducing themselves, giving their backgrounds and everything, and I didn't want to be that kid. Like, oh, my father got me in here, yada yada yada. I did not want to do that at all. And so I stood up and I gave him my name and always said my father's been in the film industry for as long as I can remember. Never gave out my name, gave out his name. And just said, like, I've done experience here, done experience there, really excited to be here, and I sit down, not realizing that our instructor worked with Dad back in Brother Bear and as well as other Disney films, and he recognized me right off the bat and said, oh, you're Aaron Blaise's son, I've known you since you were little, how you been, man? I was like, oh, I'm great, and everybody's heads just turned with shock and awe, like, oh, you're Aaron Blaise's son. And yeah, but eventually, like, everybody got over it, and I ended up become my own person. But it was just that one moment where, like, it got a little I would say annoying. Just it happened a lot. People constantly asking me the same questions, like, what's it like to have Aaron as your father? It's like, well,
it's awesome.
He's awesome. I'm proud of him. And honestly, I would say I'm proud of him because the fact they got to this point is absolutely amazing. So I'm absolutely proud of him even now.
Oh, thank you, son.
You're welcome, Father. But yeah, it was like that was. But yeah, back in high school, I never really had that problem. It was mainly working under the same roof as him back in digital.
Excuse me, boy.
I wanted that answer there.
Oh, I just grabbed the wrong brush here.
And what size of canvas do you use, Father?
What size canvas do I use? I am using, I just went over that one too, 16 by 20 inches at 300 DPI. That's what I'm doing right now. So, right now what I'm trying to make is, hold on. Excuse me. I got my water. There we go. Let's go into our shape dynamics. We're going to do size jitter, so we'll get feeling diameter. Minimum diameter is down in here, so we'll get different size jitter. Let's see what happens when I draw over the top of this. We're going to go white, warm. Okay, we're going to push them even further apart. Snow. I'm going to do some snow. There we go. The ones here we'll make a little bigger because they're closer to camera. There we go. Now I've got this layer, and let's have it falling. So I'm going to go filter, blur, motion blur. I'm going to have it falling towards him a little bit. There we go. Let's push it just a little bit. There we go. Let's put another layer on top. I'm going to do the same thing. There. These, I'm going to give them a little bit more blur. Filter, blur, motion blur. Let's push them a little more so they're falling at a different rate. Let's do another layer. These we won't really blur at all. Just want it to be kind of a mix of blur and no blur. It gives it a nice sense of snow here.
have you ever worked with Tom Bancroft?
I've known Tom Bancroft for 27 years. Matter of fact, I am going on February 8th. I am going to Nashville to speak at Tom Bancroft's class at the Lipscomb University in Nashville. I know Tom Bancroft very well. We worked together on Lion King and Aladdin and Mulan. Yeah, we worked together for years and years. So the answer is yes.
The answer is yes.
So I'm going to do a little thing because I want the attention to be up top. So I'm going to do a little gradient. Add a layer. I'm going to go to the gradient. And I'm just going to keep it white. I'm going to let that feel like it's picking up a lot of kind of snow. There we go. So actually let's go a little grayer with that. Just
Any tips on? Oh, I'm sorry.
There we go. It's all right.
Any tips on how to organize the layers?
Yeah, I usually keep them big and organized in this, but just label them as you go. That's the biggest thing. And yeah, that's the best thing I can tell you to do. I'm going to try one more thing real quick. I'm going to come down here, get behind my character layer. There's that. So I'm going to put a layer on top of that. I'm going to set it to multiply. I want to try to get that cat to stand out a little bit more. So I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to go to a little bit darker color. Just get him to stand out just a little bit more. There we go. I kind of like that. Here's our cat. And let's put a little bit of dark under the snow. These are our snow layers. I'm going to put a layer there. Put a layer there. And I'm going to set that to multiply. I'm going to darken this area a little bit and see how that looks. There we go. Just to give it a little bit of focus on the head. There. Kind of finished that off kind of quickly. Took the attention away from the bottom. Put our attention up there on the cat. It's not a great drawing. It's not a great painting, but it was fun to do. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Dustin, is there any last questions?
Why is there 3 shadows?
3 shadows. Well, I wasn't paying attention a whole lot to my lighting, but there's not 3 shadows that I know of. There's the cat shadow coming off of here. I probably should have a shadow. There should be a bit more of a shadow coming off of here. Let me come down here. Right here on that layer. I should probably have a bit more of a shadow. Grab a bright brush. But I'm not quite sure I know what you mean. I don't know what you mean by 3 shadows. Oh, and of course I have the white there. Let me do it here. There we go. Should have a shadow kind of coming off like so, coming off of that rock. And then this would all be in shadow back here. But I'm not quite seeing 3 shadows. That I'm not quite, unless you're talking about this stuff down here, those are meant to be rocks. So yeah, they're not really descriptive right now. They should be better described as rocks. But that's what that is. If you're talking about these 3 things here.
Oh, that's probably it.
Yeah, those are rocks. Rocks sticking up out of the snow. Badly drawn rocks sticking out of the snow.
Is there currently a coupon that's active for your store for the holidays?
Nick, is there one? I'm not sure. Nick is the guy to ask.
That might have been last week for the 12 days of Christmas, or is that still going on? Is it still going on? Or?
I'm not sure. That's a Nick question because that's If Nick is still on, I'm hoping he's still on. He'd be able to answer that. If not, we will try to get something together. I'm going to save this. Save it.
You might have answered this before already, but what is your favorite big cat?
My favorite big cat are lions. I love them, but I love all big cats. So that's kind of a hard thing to ask because I just love all the big cats. It's a hard thing to answer, I should say. I'm sorry, I have a hard time talking and drawing at the same time. I'm doing my best at it. Whoops. Let me get rid of that. That's not what I wanted. I wanted to do...
no coupons right now.
Gotcha. But we will have some coming up. Color dodge. There we go.
Is this stream going to be saved in the channel?
Yes, it is. I get this nice and hot. Hot.
What affordable display tablet would you recommend for a beginner?
Well, everything I use are Wacom products. So, I don't know if what you consider affordable, but I love Wacom products. So, yeah, that's everything. I believe in using the best stuff for the job, and I said that earlier. And for me, Wacom has always been the best product for the job.
Did you hear about the live action Lion King movie?
I sure did. I'm excited about it, actually. I'm really, Jon Favreau is a great director. I think he's going to do a good job. Oh, there we go.
What format of saving do you use?
What format of saving?
Yeah, like to save your work as like JPEG, RAW.
Oh, I just either save it as a Photoshop document or a JPEG document. There we go. So now I'm just going into softening up a couple of these edges where the fur is with my smear tool. And you can see it gives a nice effect.
Can you zoom in and out with your fingers in that tablet, like on your screen there?
I can, but I don't use it. I don't like the touch. It gets a little buggy for me, so I don't use the touch capabilities. But I can turn the touch on right there, so it says touch on, and I can. It's really touchy. I can zoom way in and way out with my fingers. That's what I'm doing now, but it's a little bit buggy, so I don't use it.
Do you sell prints of your drawings?
Yep. If you go to pixels.com, go to pixels.com, and I've got and look and type in my name. I've got a bunch of prints in there. Plus, we also sell prints on our website, creatureartteacher.com. I've got stuff there as well.
Would you say your love for big cats stems from working on Lion King? Or were there experiences before that made you so fascinated with them?
Well, I've always been fascinated by them. I think Lion King had a big part of it. But, having seen them in the wild, there's something about big cats that I just find fascinating. And, I've been threatened by a female lion in the wild when I got too close to her cubs. And it scared me half to death, but it lit something in me. And it's... there's experiences that I've had. It's the same with bears. I've had experiences with bears in the wild that just make me want to draw them and paint them and learn more about them and everything. So for me it's from my experiences in the wild along with the filmmaking.
Have you seen the Planet Earth 2 segment with the snow leopards?
I have not, and I'm dying to see it because I've heard about it. But there we go. So there's a quick snow leopard. It wasn't very quick. It took a long time. But that was a lot of fun. And I'm going to go ahead and call it for today.
Don't forget to zoom and pan.
Zoom and pan. I'm zooming and panning.
Requested by Nick.
I'm not forgetting at all. That's the whole reason I zoomed in. But I'm actually zooming in on the best part of the image. So, yeah, that's my favorite part of the image. The rest of it was just kind of meh. It was kind of a meh image. But it was fun doing it with you guys. And I really enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. We're going to be back again next Thursday on YouTube at 1 o'clock. So just catch us here every Thursday at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And then on Facebook every Tuesday at 1 o'clock as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Come back next week and we'll do it again. We'll ask more questions. And I'm not sure what I'll do for next week, but we'll do something that I'm sure it'll be fun. But I'm going to go ahead and get going. And I hope you guys have a great week. Get out, put some beauty back into the world, because that's what we're supposed to do as artists, and the world needs it right now. So go do that. And until next week, go do some drawing, and then I'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.
See ya.
I'm leaving.